All right, solving equations by squaring both sides strictly for grade 11 and 12. We're going to the third equation here. All right, so here's the third equation. The first thing that we need to do is to write our restrictions. Restrictions. Remember the rules? The rule says write down all restrictions. So I don't see people writing restrictions, but I am. Let's start with what's under the radical sign. You've got 6 minus x. It must be greater than or equals to 0. Good. Now, when you transpose this 6 over, you now have negative x is greater than or equals to negative 6. Now, and then when you multiply both sides by negative, you're going to have x is less than or equals to 6. You see that? That's the first one. There's about more than 4 rules when to reverse the inequality sign. Now, let's go for the next one. Now, the next one is this one. What's under the 5? That denominator. It must never be equals to 0. So I would take the square root of 6 minus the x plus the 2. It must never be equals to 0. Then I transpose. Then I've got square root of 6 minus x must never be equals to a negative 2. Now, here's one thing I want to say. Of course, that square root, it can never be a negative 2 because when you look at that radical by itself, that one, or we can put it here. Yeah, what's in the red box? It's actually demanding a positive answer. So it will forever be positive here, plus 2, it will be positive. So whatever is here can never be negative. All right, so we know that can never be negative 2, no problem. There's no way it can be. All right, fine. Anyway, let's just proceed. Then normally you guys should square both sides. Now you have 6 minus x must never be equals to a positive 4. Good. Transpose the 6, you now have negative x must never be equals to a negative 2. Again, now you have x, when you change the sign, must never be equals to 2. You see, that's a second restriction. So that means if we're to write all the restriction combined together, you've got x must be less than or equals to 6, but it is not allowed to be 2. Let me show you in a number line. If we're to do the number line, you would do this. You would place the 2 here, and then you'll place the 6. And it says it can't be 2. So you just put an open circle by the 2. But then it tells you that it must be less than or equals to 6. So less than 6, it's basically going in that direction. But you've got equals sign. But since the 2 is not allowed, so that means on that yellow line, you'll have an open circle. That's how it is graphically. And then I've got x here. If when I write it in a form and inequality sign, you can say less than 2. So that means you can say x can be less than positive 2, or x can lie. In other words, you can say open or half open interval. So 2 is less than x less than or equals to 6. This is it. This is that, okay? Or that. So I'm going to keep that one because that's easy for you to understand. Good. Now let's solve the question. Now solving this question, one can do this. One can take that, what's in the red box, and do the K method. We can replace that by K. All right, it will make it much easier, but I haven't shown you the K method. All right, so I can go for the K method, but I'm not. I'm going to show you can do it without the K method. So I'm going to multiply by that box, both sides. All right, get rid of that. So that means the first thing that we've got, I've got square root of 6 minus the x, and then I'm going to multiply that by this one. I'm going to open the parenthesis. I've got square root of 6 minus x under the radical sign, then plus the 2 close. Next, I'm dealing with that positive 2. Then positive 2 into the radical sign of 6 minus x, then plus the 2, close the parenthesis, equals 2. When it comes, it will cancel that. You are left with 5. Then plus 4. You have to multiply it by 4 there. And then it's going to be, open the parenthesis, the radical sign of 6 minus x. And then plus the 2. You close the parenthesis. So what's going to happen now? When you take that 6 minus x, which is under the radical, you multiply with that, the radical cancel. You're left with 6 minus the x. But then that square root of 6 minus x times 2 will give you the positive 2 square root of 6 minus the x. There we go. Remember, restriction. And then we're going to need to isolate square root, but we haven't isolated that. Then equals to the other side. You now have, no, I'm not done. I need to use this 2 into here. Then I'm going to have positive 2. I'm distributing into 2 times the square root of 6 minus the x under the radical sign. Then 2 times 2 gives us a positive 4. All right, good. Then equals 2. I'm going to have 5, then plus. Then I'm going to multiply 4 into that radical. So it's going to be 4 square root or radical sign of 6 minus x. Now watch now, the 4 will times the 2 there. So it's going to be positive 8. So just double check everything is right. Now, here's what I want you to see. When you take this one, the red terms, those ones, and you also look at that one there. Look at this one, they are like terms. 2 root 6 minus x, when you add it with the other, it's 4 root of x. It will look just like that. But when you transpose to the other side, they will cancel. So now you can see that and that will actually zap out. Now you're left with, I'm going to keep that negative x there. So I have negative x equals, so I'm transposing all numeral to the right-hand side. I now have 5 plus positive 8. I'm going to bring that 4. So it's going to be negative 4. I'm going to bring that 6. So it's going to be negative 6. So I've got negative x equals, it looks like a 3. Because there it is, I've got it. Can you see? 5 plus 4 minus 4 plus that. So you get a positive 3, but then we need to finalize that and say, therefore, x equals to negative 3. All right. So that's what we've got. So let's see if this is going to be the answer. Now let's back off here. If you notice, we didn't have time to isolate square root or to square both sides. They actually canceled by themselves. We are now here. Check the answer if it is part of the solution. All right, so we got -3. I'm just gonna, you now know how to check. So that means I need to put a -3 there. So it's negative into -3. So in your mind, you know we're using +3 there. And then here it's gonna be +3 because it's a negative and negative. Now, this is gonna be square root of 9, which is 3 plus a 2, it's 5. So you've got the 5 this side. The question is it equals to the right-hand side? Well, here you've got, remember, it's going to be 3 plus that is going to be 5 at the bottom. And then you'll be having 5 divided by 5, which is 1. 1 plus 4 is also 5. Yes, it works. But, let's check if it concurs with the restriction. Restriction says any number that is equals to 6 or less than 6, as long as it's not a positive 2, it will do. Is it so? Yeah. -3 is less than that 6 and never equals to the 2. That's how you deal with this thing. Restriction, restriction. Remember, Jesus is the God of maths and science, not me. I'm just a vessel.